Hey, ladies and gentlemen, King Penny here, man. Beautiful Longmont day, man. Hey, great time yesterday in Colorado Springs, man, at the MPC West. Hey, we had some great competitors here in Longmont who really did their thing, man. Hey, shout outs to Marianne, Victoria, hey, who won it all. Also to Tucker and to Scott Cook, head Chamber of Commerce, man, here in Longmont, man, who really did well, man. So congratulations. Also, too, got to give a shout out to my sponsor, Polariza Chocho, over at 1136 Kimbark, man. If you need some window tinting, man, go holler at him. But other than that, hey, the idea of all this, man, is to sit down with motivated people. You know, I happened to be sliding through the city a couple weeks ago, and I seen somebody going door to door, and I'm like, hey, hold on, who's this? What are they up to? And stuff like that, man, because I like people who are motivating, moving forward, upward mobile. So I want to sit down, and that brings us to our guest today. Hey, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Hey, so what is your name, and where are you from?
My name's Beka Venturella, and I'm from all over. I'm a military brat, so I moved here from Okinawa, Japan, and then I was in Panama City, Florida, and then Jacksonville, North Carolina, born in Detroit, here for 14 years in Boulder County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Citizen of the world.
When people say where I'm from, I'm like military brat. They're like,
yeah, just everywhere. Okay. And what's the family look like?
I've got 2 young kids, 4 years old, almost 5, and then a 19-month-old, and then my husband and I have been together 14 years.
Oh, congratulations.
I know.
So what is it that you are, I guess, what is it that you're running for here in Longmont?
Gun violence prevention.
Gun violence prevention, but your city council at large.
Yep.
And so that means the entire city you kind of represent and everything like that.
Absolutely.
Why choose gun violence?
So my cousin was murdered at Michigan State University this February 13th. And then 4 days prior, one of my aunts took her life. And then I had a grandmother who took her life when my mom was 7 years old with a gun. So mental health and gun violence has really been a thread through my life. Myself, I struggled with mental health issues after I had my son and then with my daughter. So it was like a world of mental health struggles, postpartum depression. So when you come into guns, I'm really grateful that I didn't have a weapon because that would have been an immediate gone. No other coming back. So I'm really thankful for some of the laws we've passed in the state that can really help people and protect them just for a brief time so they can come back and bounce back and really get perspective and hopefully get support whenever they're going through that. But when I got back from my cousin and my aunt's funeral, I had 2 within 2 weeks, and I got to see the impact of gun violence on a family and see the impact on everyone who loved her and their family, just the ripple effect throughout an entire community. And I was like, I have to do something. I've never been involved with politics. I've marched with BLM, and that was kind of the start of, I always had so much passion, but I was like tied down with COVID. And then postpartum depression. So I was like, I got to do something. I can't sit by the sidelines anymore. And my dad's a Marine of 30 years, and he raised a fighter and someone who does not give up. When you do something, you go all the way, and you don't do it halfway. So whenever I got back, I marched. I found a group, and I went to the state capitol and testified in front of the Senate committee for all the packages that just rolled out for gun violence prevention this past session. And never been to the Capitol, didn't know how to get in the building, and just went up there, and it was like empowering. And I went for months, I think a couple of months, and I went weekly. I never turned off the Colorado channel. I just fell in love with government and politics and seeing where I could get in there and affect change, and making a great community. I mean, I got to know so many senators, reps, staff, janitors at the Capitol. I just made friends with everyone, and it was just exciting to look at the people who are making laws that affect us in the eye and be like, hey, I'm a person. Can I tell you what's affected me? So that they have that story with them, pinned with them. And then I had a handful of people, someone at the state capitol, Rep Jenny Wilford, and then Jonah Goose, and I had a lobbyist, and the list goes on of people that looked me in the eyes and they were like, you need to run for office. And I was like, I don't know what that looks like. What do? Go on the computer, hey, I want to run.
Yeah.
So I jumped in, and I was like, I realized Longmont has not passed any type of gun violence prevention measures in our city of 100,000 people. They're behind, and a lot of the cities around us have done that already. So I think that's imperative because if it saves one.
Do you think that you will get pushback?
I will.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because,
Oh, yeah, it's a tough
guns,
subject.
period, bring you know what I mean?
A whole bunch.
Total opposite sides, or
100%.
there's really no in between, honestly. Like I think people are
There is. Have you heard of the group Giffords?
No.
So Giffords is
it
for
from Arizona.
Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I met her about a month ago. I got to sit down with her for a little while, and they did a
Okay.
training for survivors. And she got up and gave a speech, and she was like, "You need to fight, fight, fight." She was shot in the head, survived it, and watched all these people around her who got shot just because the person was coming for her. And having someone talk about that, being a survivor, and look you in the eyes, and they feel and they relate to what happened. So a group like Giffords, they're gun owners for common sense gun laws. So everyone in Giffords owns a gun. And they're like, hey, not everyone is responsible like we are. We actually put our guns in safes. We actually secure them. We actually get training. We actually do these things. But they're like, I don't want that kid or that guy to get a gun. So they work together collaboratively with other gun owners to really put forth measures that make everyone feel like, okay, this is something I'm willing to get behind. PLACA, we repealed PLACA. PLACA in our state, what it does is it's in other states as well, but it keeps, if you were a victim of a shooting, or if I were my cousin and a gun shop owner sold this person a gun without doing a proper background check, then what would happen is that if you went to go sue that gun shop owner, the gun industry would be protected by the law, and you could never really get to them. You wouldn't win. And if you lost, which you would, you have to pay all of their attorney fees.
Wow.
So we repealed that, which is amazing in our state. And it doesn't mean everyone should have access to the judiciary system. Nobody should be able to not have that liability attached with what they're doing.
Okay.
So
not to minimize an issue, or make one too big or anything like that. So outside of gun violence, right? Outside of gun control and things like that, what are 3 issues that you see that Longmont needs to work on coming up, or
housing,
two or 3?
housing, affordability. I own a home, and the only reason I moved to Longmont is because there was a new build going up, and at the time it was like 7 years ago, we could afford it, but we couldn't afford maintenance on a single family home. So we were able to come in and now enjoy this community, and we're behind on building homes. We're behind on homes for people, and our population is increasing. So I think we really need to stand behind people coming in who want to build affordable housing, and it has to actually be affordable, which is, some people, it's like HOAs getting up, like HOA is just going up, and I don't even have a pool. They say don't get an HOA that's a pool because it's going to get really expensive. So actual affordable housing, actual structures. I know we're working on something for our veterans, which is amazing, and they're getting creative with all different type of housing. So affordability, huge, because I don't want to be out of here. When we talk about homelessness, people are really concerned about homeless people or the unhoused, and I'm like, well, if we're gonna be, that's the concern. You have to actually look at this in a whole different light of like, okay, we have mental health, we have lack of housing, and then lack of support. So if we can help them at the base of like, okay, how can we support what's happening here and get you in a place and help you get the next steps in order to be a productive member of society?
I talked to a couple of people too, a lot of people, more than a couple, a lot of people, people are a couple checks away from being unhoused themselves.
We're living paycheck to paycheck.
You know what I mean? So.
Oh, I know. I said that to people. They're like, oh, it's just people that make bad choices with drugs.
No,
and
it is
I'm
not.
like, actually, it's not. It's not at all. If I didn't have...
between groceries, the price of gas...
They're so expensive. I was talking to my friend. I'm like, you might have to move into my kid's bedroom. And we're going to put my kids in the same room because we might need help paying for our rent. And I know there's restrictions around who all can live in a home, which is something else that I think we need to kind of open up or, get some perspective on. That people have large spaces and they'd like to have people have ADUs and whatnot. But I don't claim to know all the insides and outs of that discussion. But I think having people connect with our community and members and not be so, because COVID, we all retreated in our rooms. And now we're coming out and it's like, hey, I'm a person, you're a person. We're here, we have the same struggles. My husband and I, it's like he's a mechanic and he has a garage that his dad started up. And he had bust his. Am I allowed to say the word?
You can say the. We'll take the on Longmont TV. But that's good that you mentioned it because it shows that from your dad being a Marine, a husband a mechanic. When you walk to the state Senate floor, you talking everybody from the top to the janitor.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's relatable. Now that's like, and that is what the city, I think, needs somebody who can see past, what I mean, maybe what they can get or what somebody else
it's what they can
to
get.
do for others.
And you actually look at people and like anywhere I go, my husband's more of the like shy guy, and I'm like, oh, that person looks like they need help, and he's like, Becca, and I go run, and I'm like, can I help you? And they look at me, and I'm like, no, really, can I help you? I'll grab that for you. Do you need help getting to your car? And I'm not beneath anyone.
Yeah.
And I get so frustrated with that when I see people who are like, oh, I'm just looking for the next person to get me that endorsement or get me this, or like, how are you going to get me higher? It's like, no, you're the one voting.
And like I said, like your work ethic will get the endorsements that you need.
For sure.
You know what I mean? The putting in the work and keeping your word and doing things the right way.
Yeah.
You'll get that endorsement regardless.
Yeah, because I don't, I don't get those tactics. And people have said to me, well, how did you, do you know Senator Rhonda Fields?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love her. So I went up to her, I watch her, anytime she's on the floor, it's like she's taking you to church.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. So we were somewhere and she looks at me and she goes, you move fast. And I'm like, I don't have any other way to be. For me, I started out life or death, and now it's this passion. I can actually affect change on all the other levels that affect people. And even down to the basic levels of like potholes. People driving too fast down my street. They drive like so fast. And I have my, 1-year-old walking down the sidewalk. And so I can really work with people. I think the big issue, in my opinion, is education, talking to people, communicating with people, telling them what's going on, making it so they can understand it. Because I feel like a lot of it is a way out of I'm like, I look at my friend and I'm like, so how can you translate that? Dumb it down for me because I don't know what you just said, like all the acronyms. So I think we could really get more community involvement if we were personal, relatable, and could just say, let me find out. I don't know. I have no clue.
And I don't think people are willing to say like, hey, I don't know how that can be done or if that can be done. Let me look into it.
Let me look into it. I'll get you the right person.
Versus just telling you,
I'm going to fix that.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And then you disappear.
Just for the vote.
Just for the vote. And that's what I met with one woman and she's like, people only come around when it's voting time. She said they don't even act interested. I go to events and I'm ignored. They just want to go talk with their circles. And I went to an event at a park, and it was like a political event, and everyone was the same people. We're all the same people going to the same events, you know? And it's like, I've seen you, we just all, great, I like you, you like me, let's just keep going in our lives. But there was this like donkey down at the bottom of this park, and I'm like, oh, I'm gone. Like, I'm going to see that donkey. And so I walked down there, and everyone looked at me, and I had people telling me, you need to stay here, you need to pay attention to what's happening, because they might call your name, and I'm like, so I go over to this donkey, and I'm like petting it, and then I end up talking to the lady there who has the donkey. We strike up a conversation, find out we have a mutual friend, and then I go over to these other two women who come up. We have a great conversation about how expensive it is for them to live, and they're retired. They're like, I can't handle any more increases. This makes me nervous. There it was right there. They were like, thank you for stopping and talking to me. And I'm like, we sit in our little circles here. And really, the people out here are the ones we need to be reaching. It's not me sitting in these parties. I like them. I go to them because I think it's great to connect and like work on things that are going to affect our county and our state. But it's people. It's people.
See, and I think more than the radical exchange and the temperature of everything, that right there, I think, is the more inclusive way to handle things. Like, you know what I mean? Bring everybody into the fold.
Yeah.
Rather than separating them and getting something handled over here. Oh, okay, we don't agree over here. And I think that's lost now. Like,
it is.
Our system from the top to the bottom.
Oh, yeah, left and right. Yeah. There's no in between. But the more you start talking to people, you do have more in common. I've been to a door where someone was like, we weren't on the same page with our beliefs around gun violence prevention. But we sat there and have a really great conversation, a really respectful conversation. We're able to go back and hear each other's points of view. And I just loved it because a lot of times it's like, oh, you can't do that. It's really scary. And I'm like, but if you sit down and actually talk to somebody, even if they don't believe with you, you can really find some common ground. And he might not vote for me, and I'm fine with that.
So what made you decide to do door to door?
My friend.
Yeah.
He was like, the only way you're winning a race is if you want to win a race, it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, you knock doors because they're the ones voting for you. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. And that's what I'm good at. I love talking to people. So it's actually a blast. If I didn't have to take care of my kiddos all the time, I'd be doing it more often.
All day.
I would. I'd be like, okay, I got a sitter for my daughter and I'm going because that to me is so exciting. Like I tabled at an event yesterday, I believe it was, and people coming up, I'm just like, oh my God, you know, I don't have this agenda. I tell people, I'm like, if I come up to you and say hi, and then I do tell you I'm running for office, I'm not doing it to get you to vote for me. I just have to say it so that you know that you're interacting with this, and I want you to vote for me. But I just love getting down and getting to know people generally apart from running for office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess probably my last question would be, are you optimistic and hopeful are words I think that everybody uses. How do you see the direction of Longmont 5, 10 years from now? Like, do you, as far as progress goes?
Progress?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're making a lot of big steps towards sustainability. I haven't sat down with staff and really had conversations about what the nitty gritty of what they're doing.
Not actually them
Okay.
per se.
Okay.
I'm talking about just you. Like over the next, like, you know what I mean? Say, for instance, like few years.
Okay.
Like, where would you like to, you know what I mean? Take things outside of housing, outside of the gun thing. Like, where would you like things to go? Which direction? Like, is that a question that you...
I'm trying to think, like, I think I said it, but, like, where we all can get together at parks and everyone's like, hey!
Yeah.
Hey, where everyone's more comfortable engaging, where we're really shopping local. We're really getting to know our business owners. We're getting to know people who are working here and helping people work out and whatnot. Like, that's what I think pulls people together. And I like to connect people to people. So I'm like, I know a person. And I guess that's for me, like in the military when we were traveling all the time. I had to build a community constantly, wherever you go. And it comes by everyone just kind of finding some common ground. I don't know how to do that.
No, but I mean, it goes back to this quote that let me quote this I heard that you said. Yeah. Inclusivity, trust, and opportunity are necessary to build a strong community. You know what I mean? And that right there alone, like, after I read that, like, I was just like, oh, okay, I see. Like, you know what I mean? You're a very strong people person. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So your growth as, you know what I mean, as a candidate can only, you know what I mean? You can only, being able to connect with people and being able to talk to people and see them for who they are is a strength that a lot of people don't have.
And empower them.
Yeah, you know
like
what I mean?
If you wanted to go to the state capitol and you're like, hey, there's this thing I'm really struggling with, I connect you with your senator, I connect you with your rep, or I find someone in the state who's working on that bill and I get you connected. I'd be like, how do we work together to get you to where somewhere you feel empowered that you can actually make a change? How do I get you here to council? How do I get you in front of the right people so you feel empowered in what you're doing? To me, that's my voice. That's what I love. I love to be able to be like, oh, how can I help you? Yeah. And I think that's important. At city council, we have to be, even though we might not agree and people are coming in, they're hashing out their stuff and you're like, ugh, you know, you still have to be like listening to them and then try to come around and be respectful of them. And I understand people have been doing it for years. So I don't know how it is when you're sitting in a seat having the same thing over and over, but I still, that level of respect, the level of care, I think a lot of people would feel much more. I had someone, I was at a door and they were like, I actually might start coming to city council. She's like, I've just given up. I've given up and I feel like we're just sitting there, it's the same stuff. And like if people just feel listened to, that does a lot. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Is there anything, last thing that you want to tell the people of Longmont? Is there any any last words or anything like that?
Last words. I really hope that you can trust me. I hope that you see me for me, and this is no agenda. I do not, like, obviously I have my things that are very close to my heart, but I'm really here for you. I'm really here for the people. And like I said, we may not agree, but I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to work very hard. And I say this often, there's no quitting me. There's no quitting me.
High energy too. I like. I like. Hey, look! I'm like, this is like sitting next to pre-workout. I'm like, okay, no, but I like it. No, but I really do like it, especially after a day of knocking on doors already. I'm like, and still got more in the tank, man. Hey, that's great. No, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. We're gonna blast everything up here, put the at-large seat up, man, and wish you all the best. And if there's anything that I can help with or anything that you think of, like, you know what I mean, like, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said, thank you again for your time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Hey, I'm King Penny, man. You've been sitting in here. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. Hey, remember, check us out at kingpennysups.com, man. Hey, got all kinds of proteins, all kinds of other things, man. Hey, check us out, man. Hey, thank you guys again for tapping in. King Penny, we're out of here.
Bye.